I'm reading a book at the moment, and it starts on the first page with a quote from Dostoevsky. And Dostoevsky says, "The most difficult thing in life is to live and not lie." Wow, what a great start. What a great start to a book. And of course, he's absolutely right, because it is, in my opinion, necessary to lie in life all the time. And yet we have these religions all over the world telling us not to lie. What a load of nonsense. If you didn't lie, we'd all kill each other. We need to lie. We need to tell white lies, lies that enable people to save face. Yeah, changing the subject a little bit for today's diary. Um, Grandstanding. Yes, this is what I would call, or sometimes people would call it banter. This is the way Australians behave when they talk to each other. When they first meet each other as strangers. Um, I'll give you an example of what I mean by it. It's quite interesting because I was standing at a viewpoint out on my walk the other day, just looking at the view, and I heard some voices behind me, and two couples approached me actually, neither of whom knew each other, and they didn't know me either. And I could hear them coming from quite a distance. So the voices are very loud and intrusive, I would say. And so, yeah, I know somebody's coming. And then they come, and the closer they get to me, suddenly we're all supposed to be talking together, exchanging what is called banter in Australian. In other words, we're talking to each other in a tone of voice which seems to be like as if we are long lost friends, quite intimate, really. But in fact, we've never met before. Now, this is quite different from, say, the British. The British will be much more reserved in that situation. They won't say much, not all, if anything. And if they do say something, it'll be very polite and just formal. We would go to the banter stage as stage 2 in a relationship, not stage 1. Quite different. And I've also noticed that this banter can really get out of control in a crowded area, in a room, for example, inside. Um, then if someone comes into a room, you'll find that people start talking in a tone of voice. If they start approaching me, they don't actually address me directly. They're actually talking to the whole room. Their audience is the whole room. It's not me. I actually don't like that. I find that quite off-putting, really, and quite difficult to deal with. Now, let's move on to, I think those, anyway, to go back to just to finish off there, I think those banter relationships are very shallow and emotionally dry. But actually, the positive side of it is that they do get on very well with each other, Australians, when they first meet strangers, and they're really, I noticed that many migrants tell me that they think Australians are very, very friendly because of this banter. Definitely. So I suppose there's a good positive side to it. Yeah. And now, another positive thing that's happened the last few days is a student of mine in Thailand who's a monk, and I've been teaching for a year or so. And he's done very well. He's left his monastery and he's working in the city in Thailand, and he's working as a waiter. He has good English. He was an English teacher, so he has great English, and he's done very well. And he sent me a copy of a message left by some guests, which was just heartwarming. Absolutely, saying he was such a wonderful waiter and how wonderful he was. And this message was then passed on to his boss. So I just think that's such a lovely thing. He must have felt great to get that. Yeah. I know that in my experience as a teacher, when I occasionally got a good review from a student or something, it was just so uplifting, so inspiring. And yes, so what else do we have which is positive to talk about today? Yes, well, there's the reading. Where am I getting my inspiration from? Usually from my students. But sometimes now from reading. At the moment, I've been reading these Japanese books. I think I've mentioned it before. Rental Person. Um, I find it quite inspiring because this guy, he's on Twitter, and I think he's well known on Twitter. Not a celebrity, but he's well known, has a little following, and he's had a dull, boring job. So he and his wife decided he would stop working for a while and live on his savings. So he rented himself out as company to anybody who needed him, and he never charged them unless they invited him for a meal. Then they paid, but he never charged them actually for his services. So this is his way of filling in time, and he didn't do anything. He offered nothing. He just said, "I'll come along with you, and if you want to go to a concert or to a football match, I'll go with you. I won't say much. I'll just say yes and no and a few words, but I won't have long, deep, meaningful conversations." But I thought this is fantastically interesting because here is someone who's addressing this modern problem of loneliness. Could not be a better example than that. This is modern Tokyo we're talking about. A guy puts himself out on the internet and says, "I'll go with you wherever you want to go." And he's inundated with people and offers, friends. Not friends, just people, complete strangers, sorry, not friends at all, complete strangers, just wanting someone to go with them and do things. And, maybe someone who just wants to write an essay and will you mind sitting there and watching me while I do it? Just people just don't want to be on their own. They don't want to be lonely. I think it's a beautiful idea and concept. And then all of these books, actually, now that I think about them from Japan, are about loneliness. Clara and the Sun, I've also mentioned. Ishiguro is about the robots and parents who have difficult teenagers, and in the future, it's set in the future, and you can go to the high street and buy a robot for your child. It sounds a bit sad to you, but maybe. But in fact, I don't know. By the time I finished the book, I was really impressed with the robots, and not so impressed with the people in his family. And the characters in the play were all pretty selfish, but the robot was actually very nice. Anyway, interesting idea. Then Strange Weather in Tokyo, which I just finished, which was a lovely love story between a student and her ex-teacher. Again, both of those characters terribly lonely. It's about anomie, people who are the kind of outsiders. His wife had left him, and she had never got married, and yeah, so they fell in love. I just absolutely thought it was a lovely story. It's about addressing loneliness, and of course, friendship is one way of doing that. And then Little Brother is another book that I've finished, which is by a West African, a true story this time, about an elder brother who loses his son. Sorry, not his son, his younger brother. His younger brother goes from West Africa across the Sahara Desert and tries to go to Europe in order to get money to escape poverty and to send money back to support their poor mother. Their father had died. And what does this guy have to do? He has to choose between staying with his mother or going and following his little brother across the Sahara Desert to try and find him. And of course he does. He goes and he tries to find him across the Sahara. So here we're looking at the incredible strength between bonds between brother and brother. I mean, for me, that is just extraordinary. I've never experienced anything like that. But I noticed it when I was in Africa, just how strong the bonds are between siblings and between siblings and their children. So fascinating. That's my reading for today. That's all for today, I think.